Garen, the three late games on Saturday, one being a dead rubber. Let's discuss that first, because the other two all mean something in the greater scheme of things. So at 5 o'clock, we've got the Bulls hosting the Cheetahs. I see the Bulls made 4 changes. The Cheetahs have got Willie LaRue back, so maybe a little bit of a spectacle. Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, for the Cheetahs, Willie LaRue playing his final match for them. Obviously, they can't make the playoffs. He's off to Japan straight afterwards, and then he's actually signed for the Sharks for next season. So we'll see him playing, in Durban from next season onwards. The Bulls, they've also made a couple of changes, mainly to their pack. Again, they'll come back from a horror tour, lost 11 straight matches now on tour. They want to obviously get back to winning ways in front of their Loftus Versfeld faithful. And I think they'll be too strong for the Cheetahs. I can't see the Cheetahs getting up. They've had some fairly disastrous matches of late. So Bulls for me, fairly comfortable winners at home. Again, 10 to 12 points, maybe even more.
Okay. At the midday game on Saturday, the Waratahs hosting the Reds. And of course, this result is important for the Waratahs in their tussle, which we mentioned earlier, with the Brumbies, because they're on the same points.
Yeah. I mean, those two teams battling for Australian supremacy. The Waratahs are in a fortunate position in that they'll know what they need to do, having based on what the Brumbies do early in the day against the Crusaders. If the Brumbies have won, then obviously the Waratahs have to win. They actually have to match whatever the Brumbies did. If they score a bonus point, then the Waratahs have to score a bonus point as well in order to clinch that all-important second spot in the log. If the Brumbies obviously have lost, then the Waratahs, all they need to do is actually just win, and that'll be enough. But the Reds, again, fairly average season for them. They're losing so many players.
How are the two sides looking?
Yeah, I was going to say the Reds, they're losing so many players. Will Genia, Quade Cooper potentially off. They have a hole in the pack. Last week they had this massive farewell for them in Brisbane, and the Chiefs still beat them fairly easily. I can't see them going to Sydney and upsetting the Waratahs. So fairly straightforward for me this match. Waratahs to win, perhaps clinch the second spot in the Australian Conference. That gives them a bye in the quarterfinals, which will mean that the Brumbies will have to play an extra match in the quarterfinals, and they could even be the team that travels to Newlands to play the Stormers in the quarterfinals.
Okay, well, speaking of the Stormers, that is the late kickoff on Saturday. The Sharks, horror season. I'm sure they're hoping to end on a high. They're also saying goodbye to some big stars who are all going to be playing on Saturday. The Stormers affording to play, I guess we could call it a B-string side, because they've won the South African Conference. Nizam Kar captaining a side with 14 changes, so that should be an interesting match. I mean, there's a good chance the Stormers could actually topple the Sharks.
Yeah, it's an interesting match. Obviously the Stormers have done all the hard work. They've earned the right to top the log and then rest all their key players. Made 14 changes, like you said. Nizam Kar leading the team from 8th man in a new look Stormers team. A lot of the faithful Cape fans won't recognise many of the players, but they're travelling up to Durban to take on a Sharks team, saying goodbye to Bismarck du Plessis, Yanni du Plessis, Willem Alberts, all off to France for next season. Obviously the Sharks will want to get up for them, give them a winning send-off. But the Sharks season has been so poor this year to date that you wouldn't be surprised if they do struggle to beat this B team, Stormers team that's been announced. Similar thing last year, actually. The Stormers sent a weakened team to Durban. They were actually at that stage out of the contention for the playoffs, so they could afford to do so. And actually, thanks to a last-minute drop goal by Yakatata, who ironically is making a return to the Stormers, starting 15 after a knee injury. He kicked a winning drop goal, and the Stormers actually beat the Sharks. So, it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that the Stormers do upset the Sharks. I can't imagine that the Sharks will be too thrilled losing to this second-rate Stormers team. So I'm going to go for the home side, obviously hoping the Stormers do upset them to get onto like a winning path and winning trail heading into the playoffs. But I'm going to go for the Sharks team to give Bismarck, Yanni, Willem a winning send-off, but again, fairly close. I would be surprised if it's more than a converted try, so less than 7 points for me.